So look, if you want to grow your wealth, your income, and increase the amount of time off, then these are the shortcuts that can help. Welcome to the Wealth Creation Podcast. Good morning, everybody. It's Dan Latto speaking. Hope you're well this morning. Let me just sort this camera out. There we go. Should be there. Like that. Perfecto Mundo. Hope you're well today. It is 2nd of April, 2019. We just got back from America, went to New York, and oh my goodness me, why is jet lag so difficult coming back? It wasn't easy going. It's so much harder coming back, and I'm just beyond exhausted. But anyway, first podcast in about a week. Good morning, Andy. Good morning, Scott. Hope you guys are both well. Not been doing any podcasting for about a week. Has been away on holiday. Well-deserved rest. And I use speech quotes on that word rest. 15 miles a day with a 4-year-old is not rest. Just for clarity, if you're considering getting some rest and you go, I know, let's go to New York with a 4-year-old and a wife who likes to see everything, it's not rest. 15 miles a day. We stayed in Times Square. Perfect location. Intercontinental Hotel. Everything is within 15 minutes walk. That's right, about 83 billion steps. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, absolutely. My poor feet hurt so much. I mean, you wake up and you're stiff everywhere because I just don't walk anymore. So I clearly need to get fit. Anyway, we're back. In today's podcast, I'm going to talk to you about how we're getting 16% returns on properties that we don't even own, we don't manage, we don't do anything with them. We don't touch them, we don't look at them, we don't smell them, we don't deal with tenants, we don't deal with cockroaches, we don't deal with blocked sinks or drains. We just don't do anything at all. It's completely hands off. We buy the thing here in Spain, and in 12 months' time, touch wood, and I'm going to cover that, we get a 16% return. So we've got a couple of these going out right now, and we're just testing them because we've never really gone down this path before. And the path I'm talking about, of course, is crowdfunding. So where I'm not raising the money, but I'm putting my money into somebody else's thing. Now, by the way, one caveat on all of this is none of this is legal advice or financial advice whatsoever. I am merely explaining what I'm doing to get 16% returns. And I don't always get 16% returns. Sometimes it goes better, sometimes it goes worse. We're going to cover that as well in today's podcast. So let's just talk about how this works. So crowdfunding is basically where a person wants to raise an amount of capital. Let's say it's £250,000 because they're buying these 2 terrace houses. We're going to knock them into one and we're going to convert them to really fancy serviced accommodation. Let's just make that up, right? So they need 250 grand. It might be 180 grand of that is going to buy the place. 70 grand is going to do the place up. And then that person is going to do the work and then we're going to refinance it and pull the money out, and that's how they'll pay the loan back. That's generally how it works. But it might be that you're actually putting your money into this and it's a 5-year bond, or the idea is that it's, you're going to get returns over 10 years, in which case there's a capital uplift on the property that you're buying, plus there is income coming in from the rent. So if it's serviced accommodation, which is high yield, then there is surplus income coming in because the rent that they've got coming in is more than the cost going out every month. And so you turned into a cash flow investor as well as a capital growth investor. So the two things that you need to understand there. See, predominantly, I've been a cash flow investor. I couldn't think what it was then. I've been a cash flow investor. I'm not interested in capital growth whatsoever because I can't, if I got a couple of houses worth £1 million and they double to £2 million, I can't eat food from that, right? I can, if I remortgage, bring the money out, pay interest on that and use that to feed my family. But that's not why I invest. What I invest on is where my rents are 20 grand and my mortgages are 10 grand, and that 10 grand is what I live on, right? So these are made up numbers. So for me, and that's why we went to New York. I didn't do any podcasts. No one gives a shit. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. In fact, we had a guy last week who wrote me a very nice long message on Facebook, and we're going to talk about this in one of my next podcasts. Morning, Derek.
And he put this really long piece. It was very nice, very touching. And I meant to reply to him, but I didn't. And then a week later, I got a really sarcastic email. And I'm like, dude, I ain't your bitch. I'm not sat here waiting for you to tell me about your life. I get so many of those emails coming through, both on emails, and both on Facebook Messenger and on Instagram and Twitter and all sorts of different things. It's really interesting, and I appreciate the time that you've taken, but you can't expect an instant response. I'm going to cover that in a podcast in a couple of more days. Who wouldn't write to, I don't know, Richard Branson and expect Branson to drop everything just so he can respond to you? That's just not how life works. I wish life worked like that. Life doesn't work like that, and there's no sense of entitlement there anyway. Anyway, so I'm a cash flow investor, and for me, investing for cash flow is what's got me to here. Okay, now it might not necessarily get me to where I want to get to, however, or maybe it will, right? But when you reach a certain stage in your life, you want to start mixing up how you're doing stuff. So for the last 20 years, we've been putting money into property, we've been generating cash flow each month. Now we're at the stage where that cash flow is now going into deals that then generates more cash flow. So the return on investment calculation that I was running 20 years ago for a property that I was thinking about buying is actually completely inaccurate. Just the printer always makes a noise when I go live. I don't know why that is. It's so nice of it. So that property calculation that I made 20 years ago is completely wrong. The actual calculation is an infinite return on investment. What is it with the printer? And the reason for this is that the money that I put into that property, the house in Hyde Park that I've got, that I bought for 42 and a half, it's now worth 170. We've refinanced that. We've put that money into buying other properties, and then we get cash flow off all of these properties. And those properties then went up. We took money out of those, and that's how we built the portfolio. And we do work to them, and we increase value, and so on. It's an awful lot of work, by the way. But all that money that comes out today, we've still got those properties, right? But all that money that comes out today, that money is now going into investing into the next thing. So like I couldn't have imagined that 20 years ago, but you've got to bear it in mind, because for return on investment you're getting 20 years ago, that money that you're making now, and by the way, once that mortgage is paid down, I'm making that money for the rest of my life. Not only that, I'm making money generationally for my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids and so on. So the money that we earn from there should get reinvested, right? Because then you're getting an infinite return on your money. And like we like returns on money, we like infinite returns even better. So how do we get 16%? So it's on crowdfunding. I've explained how crowdfunding works. Now, if you want to know of a specific crowdfunding company, and you can start with an investment of £1. And again, thank you, Scott. And again, this is not financial advice, but if you want to know who this company is, you've got to drop me an email. I need your email address because I get paid commission, by the way. I get 1% for anybody I introduce. So just so you know that there is a cash benefit transaction here. Do you know what happens? People go, oh no, I don't like that. Oh no, I don't like the fact that you're making money off my investment. Oh no, I don't want to know. It's crazy. Let me have a piece of a pie. No. Bizarre. But anyway, so even though it doesn't affect them, I'm not getting your 1%, I'm getting it from the company. But anyway, so I get 1%. But if you want to know what that company is, and there are various, by the way, and it's taken me, there are two specifically that I use right now. And one of them, I never give the name away. And this one I'm getting, we're currently on, we just did a deal, we put a little bit of money into it, and I think we got a 12% return annualized over 12 months. That's not bad, it's pretty good. And then we've got money in on another deal that's going through right now, and that has an anticipated 30% return. Having said that, it has gone over the due date, and we're waiting to see what that money comes back once the works are completed. But you're still talking 18-20% on that, I reckon. But if you want to get into those sort of deals, you got to do some research. You can do this without getting my advice, right? It's totally out there. It's online. You got to go search through the crowdfunding websites. You got to find the right deals, or you can just drop me an email and I'll send you the link to the actual property deal. So let's just have a look at some of the other ones. So like on this one, it's getting a 16% return. It's a second charge over property, so it's slightly higher risk. It's over 12 months. That was one of them. Another one they had was a 10%, and these are bonds where you're putting your money over and they're paying you back. So it's a bond. There's another one for 10% over 12 months. There's another one at 8% for 12 months. There's another one for 12%. There's another one for 60 months, which is 3% projected net rent, 3.72, not good enough for me. It's got 13% return over 60 months, not good enough for me. Like, for some people, that's great. It's not good enough for me. And this is the, there's another one here, 26% over 12 months. That's not bad, obviously. There's another one here, 60 months, 31%. So, like, it depends what your aversion is to risk. But, we're constantly looking for what can we put money into that gives us a return. And what I like about this is that you can start with £1, which is really cool. Because, like, now you can put 100 quid in and you can test that. And you can see how that works. You can put £1,000 in, or £10,000 or £100,000. Now, you have to do your own due diligence, obviously. But for me, that works really well. So there's another one. Let's just have a look at the other one. Let me find it. But, like, is this the future for investing? Potentially. It could be. It depends what you want to do. But, like, we're having to chase tenants at 300 quid a month, £325. You can't be bothered paying the rent and don't see a problem with not paying the rent. And I'm like, and it upsets me because I get really frustrated with it. And I'm like, oh, screw this. Why am I dealing with tenants? Like, we have a system with people that manage it, but it's property. The book stops with me. It doesn't stop with a management agent or any of that malarkey. So you reach a point where you're like, oh, I can't cope with this anymore. So then you're like, let's get hands off. So one of the other ones is Grant Cardone's. Obviously, you've got Cardone Capital. I think minimum $5,000 on that. But you've got to compare. And then there's, like, do you trust Grant Cardone with your money? Like, I don't know. I've never given him my money to trust. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. And if you were going to do that, I see people putting in tens and hundreds of thousands of pounds, and that makes me very uncomfortable. And again, this is not financial advice because I can't give you financial advice. It just makes me uncomfortable. Anyway, so let's have a look at this one. On another website then, on another crowdfunding website, there's one here. You're buying shares in the company. It's £1,000. Projected return on investment before tax is 28%. And it's expected to take 12 months. It might take slightly longer, but it's 28%. If it takes an extra 6 months, you're still getting 18 to 20%. So that's not bad. Like, it's better than putting your money in the bank, right? Where you're getting 0.5%, 1%, 1.5%, like you wish. Going back 30, 40 years ago, I remember a conversation with my dad where, we talk about £1 million, get £1 million, put it in the bank, and you get 12% return, you get £120,000 every year, you can live off that for the rest of your life. Oh my, can you imagine if you'd have done that, 30 years ago? You would have lost that money completely because that interest rate was just dropping. But there's all sorts of stuff out here. But as I say, you've got to know where to go. And if you don't know where to go, you're going to potentially put your money into the wrong thing. And I'm also not saying I've got the golden chalice, the holy grail, because I don't know if I have. There might be other ones out there that are even better than this. And if there are, drop me your affiliate link because I'll love to take a look. And if I end up buying through that and you get some commission, then that's even more awesome. But, you reach a point where you want to be changing how you invest or to start getting invested. People go, well, I've only got £2,000. I can't put that into a house. I don't know what to do with it. You can put that £2,000 into something like this where you're getting a 16% return. That's what, £320 a year extra. And then you put 2,320 into the next one, you get 16%. And bear in mind, you won't get 16%. You might be 18%, it might be 12%, it might be 20%, because they're always different deals with always different interest rates, different levels of risk. Each one needs looking at, each one needs due diligence. Rule number one of investing, never lose money. Rule number two, reread rule number one of investing, never ever lose money. If only I was very good at that, which I'm not great at that. I've lost money on all sorts of different things while investing. Having said that, that learning experience has got me to here. And without me losing that money, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd probably still be working in a job. So the point of this podcast is to show you that there are different things out there. Crowdfunding is definitely one of the things that we're looking at in the next 12 to 24 months. And we're looking at putting more money into that to grow the capital so we can get a bigger return. And then that bigger return then goes into a deposit, and then we control the property ourselves, or it might be refurbs, or who knows. But right now, we're just building up that pot once more. So, look, I hope that's useful for you. Actually, 15 minutes on that podcast, much longer than I expected. But I hope that's useful for you. And if you want to go and find out where we're making those 16% returns, just drop your email on Facebook chat. Come and find me on Twitter or on Instagram, or send me an email or whatever you want to do. And I'll drop your email and I'll send you the information via email. But I hope that's useful for you. We're back to podcasting. We might do another one today, or we might just stick on the morning ones. We've got a lot to say this week. But I hope you have a fabulous week, and we'll speak to you soon. My name's Dan Latto. Take care.
Hey, it's Dan here. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Please click like or subscribe to the entire podcast.